Greetings, it is Matt from Hidden Machine here, and I'd like to ask you, do you like to be scared? Do you wish to return to the glory days of arcades? Well, if you answered yes to both of those questions, then Janitor Bleeds is the game for you. Developed by Corpus, Janitor Bleeds is a first-person horror game about a game called Janitor Bleeds. I believe that an earlier version of the game appeared on the haunted PS1 demo disc last year in 2021, but what I've read online leads me to believe that this is a reworked version of the game that's been expanded and refined. There's this interesting sort of double meta retro thing going on in Janitor Bleeds, where the main game is presented very similar to a mid-90s PS1 type game, but inside of it is a second game which is more like a late 70s, early 80s type arcade title. The game opens up with you being lost in the woods, and you eventually find your way over to an abandoned arcade. All of the cabinets are powered down, but you find one that still works, and it's a creepy, sort of very rudimentary arcade title called Janitor Bleeds, where you play a janitor who, although the game's called Janitor Bleeds, this janitor spends most of his time cleaning up spills and picking up keys. This Janitor Bleeds arcade cabinet sorta follows you around and appears in different places as you explore the abandoned arcade. I'm purposely trying to not spoil anything, but the basic gameplay loop is that you explore the abandoned arcade for a while and then play a brief round of Janitor Bleeds, the arcade game. And things that happen in the arcade game can affect the reality that you're experiencing in the first-person PS1 style Janitor Bleeds game that you're playing on your PC. It's an interesting concept, and it does play on the sort of urban legends of a game like Polybius. The game is fairly linear and it's not very long, but it's a fun little first-person horror sort of walking simulator, puzzler / old school arcade game. For me, the strongest part of the game is the overall vibe and atmosphere. I really enjoyed walking around all of the environments. They're very well crafted, and the game does a good job at keeping up a tense, anxious, mysterious energy throughout the entire thing. My biggest criticism of the game is that Janitor Bleeds, and I mean the arcade cabinet, not Janitor Bleeds, the game that I got on Steam, Janitor Bleeds is not really a game. You walk around and you click on spills and you just clean them up, but there's no challenge, and while there is a degree of tension that you're trying to clean up the spills quickly so you can move on to the next area because there may or may not be some entity following you, it essentially plays like a bootleg version of Power Wash Simulator that was ported to the Atari 2600. The presentation of the arcade game is very charming, but in execution, it fell kind of short of my expectations. Hidden Machine was given a review copy of the game before launch, and while I probably could have finished it in one sitting, my experience was marred by some performance issues. Even when I had the game running at the lowest possible settings, I still experienced a lot of lag, and whenever I turned my head, things would kind of stutter, and it was very frustrating, especially for a game where looking around is kind of all you do. However, that's just my personal experience, and your mileage will likely vary. As far as this sort of first-person horror exploration game goes, I do think the Janitor Bleeds is pretty solid. Even though it's a low-poly game, there's still a lot of detail put into the environments, and everything looks and feels realistic in this uncanny valley sort of way that's very appealing and very unsettling. The game just launched, and it is available on Steam. I believe it's also available on itch.io, along with some other stuff made by the Corpus team. This is a pretty quick video, but this is also a pretty quick game that gets right to the point. It's scary right off the bat, and it's scary all the way until the end. Have you played Janitor Bleeds? Do you have a favorite first-person horror survival type game like this? Let me know down in the comments, and be sure to like this video if you liked it, and subscribe to Hidden Machine for new gaming content all week long.